There are few anime that can haunt me with existential dread, and there are even fewer that can make me feel good about it. A good story understands the human condition and explores exactly what makes us who we are. Made in Abyss goes even further. It reaches down into the deepest, darkest depths of the human soul and rips out its secrets, kicking and screaming into the daylight. Have you ever felt that there is something you absolutely, positively have to do, no matter if it kills you? I have, you're watching it right now. And so has this anime because the Abyss is a metaphor for this longing, perfectly capturing it in a world of curiosity and wonder and torture. Because longing is a poison that consumes and infects your mind and every fiber of your soul and becomes the very essence of the person you are. And denying this longing is denying the reason for your existence, and there is no greater pain than casting aside your own soul. That's why this anime is so grotesque and horrifying. That's why Riko is able to put up with so much pain and suffering. Because every bit of pain, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how agonizing it is, only feeds it. Every wound, every scratch, every bone broken, every drop of blood spilt only grows this longing and propels you further and further into this darkness. That's why Irumyuui is able to put up with so much heartbreak, barren and cast aside with no one to love her. Irumyuui's greatest desire is to give birth to a child so that she may at least have someone who she can love. And given a wishing stone, she makes that wish for a child of her very own. It comes out horrible and sickly and dies almost immediately after being born. Yet, all she does is wish for another child. It too dies. So too does the next, and the next, and the next. Again and again and again, she wishes for another child and another and another, horrible and sickly as they are, doomed to die as they are. Her life becomes a cycle of heartbreak and broken dreams as she repeats this wish over and over and over until she becomes this monstrous shell of the girl she once was. And that's because no matter how much pain and suffering she has to go through, no matter how much her heart breaks every time one of her children dies, nothing would hurt her more than giving up on this heartbreaking, futile wish. Nothing would hurt her more than saying no to herself. Because if she were to do that, she would have lost all purpose in life. If she were to give up on her wish, then there would be nothing holding her to the world, and her soul, like her womb, would become an empty, barren wasteland. That's why her final child is something beyond value. Not just because it is one of her children, but because this child is the very essence of her entire being. That's why Riko was able to endure so much physical pain after being impaled by the orb piercer and ascending through the 4th layer. Hallucinating, bleeding from every pore, her hands swollen to the size of a watermelon, and suffering the greatest pain she could possibly imagine. She only asks for more, telling Regu to break her wrist and cut off her hand. It would have hurt less, would have given her a better chance of surviving, had she asked him to make a clean cut at the elbow. But she would rather die. Because doing that would mean giving up on her quest, something that she could never forgive herself for. And so she endures even more pain. People go on and on about the despair of Made in Abyss, but when I first watched this scene, I didn't get it. Because unlike something like Steins Gate or To Your Eternity, the emotional impact of this scene relies on physical pain and the threat of death. But Riko has way too much plot armor for this to be tense or emotional in the slightest. It's just gross and disturbing. But after watching the 3rd chapter with Irumyuui, I get it now. It isn't her pain that's important. It isn't this sense of despair. It's the knowledge that this pain, having your hand cut off while bleeding out of your eyes, this is nothing. Because she'd gladly suffer this pain 100 times before giving up this sense of longing. Because throughout this torture, throughout this pain, she never lets go of herself. She never once lets go of who she is as a person. But she would if she ever turned back. And the only time this happens to someone, the only thing worth turning your back for, is your own child's life, as Liza and Ozen bring Riko back to the surface. Because the only thing with power equivalent to longing is love. That's why love creates the white whistles, and that's what Bondred uses to create his cartridges. Longing is what brings you down into the abyss, and love is what brings you out of it. And the blessing of the abyss, the ability to see and ascend through the curse, is a special gift that can only be created by the strongest love. The abyss is a metaphor for the human soul, and the curse the ever-growing price for resisting. And the only thing that can pay the price of your own humanity is the purest of pure love. You might have missed this if you don't speak Japanese, but this is why, when Riko and Regu defeat Bondred, he says he's found a new sense of longing, because what he's witnessing is the unadulterated power of love.
君たちがこの先に進むことこそ、私の新たな憧れです。
So, when Liza turns and leaves again, it's because she's torn between love and longing. The longing of the abyss and the love of her daughter pull at her in equal weight. And what makes her give in to longing is the knowledge that she lost part of herself coming out of the abyss for her daughter. And she doesn't want her daughter to have to give up the same for her. She doesn't give her daughter the chance to choose because this longing isn't a choice. And while it is fulfilling, it isn't fun. It isn't exciting. It's the exact opposite. It's not running towards joy. It's running away from pain.
でも憧れるのとなりたいのは別かも。
It isn't something you want to do, but rather something you have to do because the alternative is something worse than death.
冒険者たちは皆進んで身を投じていく。彼らにとって憧れのない人生は死よりも恐ろしいのだ。
Longing is not a choice. It's a poison, and yet it's deeply, deeply fulfilling. It's alluring. It calls you like magic. That's why the abyss is so goddamn beautiful. The first layer is this sunny, cloudy, calming ruins, feeling like you're on top of the world. The second layer is this lush green forest with tall trees standing above and giving a sense of protection from the screaming wildlife above, giving into the inverted forest, dark and brooding, but cold and windy. It's mysterious, and yet it points downward, almost inviting you to continue pressing on. The third layer, a sunny pit with interlocking caves. The fourth, a massive cavern of giant carnivorous lily pads filled with hot spring water that changes every 2,000 years. Their waterfalls pouring into an open field with white flowers blooming as far as the eye can see. The fifth layer is a frozen glacier with a glowing, spinning base in the middle. And the sixth layer is this ruined city permanently cast in a golden sunset. The abyss is so bright and colorful and magical because the real darkness isn't the pit in the middle of the world.
真の秘密とは、夜の闇や巧妙な罠の中ではなく、人の奥底にこそ隠れている。
No matter how deep they go, no matter how horrible it is, no matter how dark it should be, every level is absolutely gorgeous. It might be dark, it might be dangerous, but it's also beautiful. Because the allure of longing doesn't care about danger, it doesn't care about horror, it doesn't care about you at all. It only cares about satisfying that feeling. The abyss calls to you, but the real darkness is the human soul, and it's the golden allure of longing that plunges you into this darkness. And that's why the only truly dark places in the abyss are where they stop descending, stop pursuing this longing. The elevator to the sixth layer where they can't pass freely. The forest where they do their training, stopping for a whole 10 days. And in the dim second layer, it only gets bright once they set back out again on their journey towards the third, the light peeking through like the dawn rising over a new day. And so while the destination is dark and horrible, the journey is bright and beautiful. The destination is what seizes you, but the journey is what brings you value. That's why there's so many beautiful places in the abyss. That's why they uncover greater and greater artifacts the further and further they descend. The abyss and its longing is the embodiment of purpose, because the one thing we need in life isn't happiness, it isn't joy. It's purpose. And no matter how hard it might be, if you have purpose, everything else slides into place.
その身を捧げ、挑む者たちに、アビスは全てを与えるという。
For the journey of the abyss, no matter how many friends you bring along, is not a shared journey. It's one you can only take yourself. Because the real journey is the longest journey, the quest for purpose. Whatever is actually at the bottom, whatever dark and beautiful secrets lie in wait, none of that actually matters. Because what actually lies in the darkness at the bottom of the pit is none other than yourself. The longest journey is the journey inwards, of him who has chosen his destiny, who has started upon the quest for the source of his being.